2022 is coming to a close, so that means it's time for another bullet journal flip through. I did the first half of this journal in a separate video on my channel, which I will link down in the description box below, so go check that out if you want to see my January through June spreads. But let's jump right into my second journal for this year and flip through my bullet journal spreads from July to December. So starting out strong, this was one of my favorite setups that I've ever done at the beginning of my bullet journal. Usually I go super minimal and I don't like it. And this time I decided to come out with a color that matched the cover of the journal, which is this lovely green. And then I also used this lace detailing design that was inspired by Lila Journals, who actually inspires a lot of my bullet journal. If you've watched any of my videos, then you would know that. And I just really love how this spread just turned out in general. I'll probably have to blur out a lot of this, but this is just my goals page. I usually like to do goals every quarter of the year, so this is just a mid-year check-in, but I did set a lot more goals at the beginning of the year. So if you watch my first flip through, you'll see much more goals there. This is my reading log, which I don't really use too much because I have all of my books on my Goodreads and Storygraph account. And then I also have an app for my period tracker, which is why I don't really use this very much, but it's nice to have a visual representation of everything going on. And then with that, all the beginning spreads are done, so let's get right into July. I have to admit, this was not one of my favorite spreads and themes that I did, but I do love all the retro vibes, and this is why I was really obsessed with Harry Styles and his new album Harry's House, which is why all of these spreads are inspired by him. And there's also this like lyric from one of his songs. I'm really thinking about doing a video or something where I rank my bullet journal themes. I did that video last year on my channel and I really loved it, especially just personally. I loved being able to rank all of the themes I did throughout the year, but it didn't actually do super well on my channel. So let me know in the comments below if you want to see anything like that, where I rank my bullet journal themes. It would probably just be an extra video halfway through the month, and it wouldn't be like a full Saturday video, but definitely be fun for me to do at least. I feel like the motif of these three stripes are super retro. If you watch my bullet journal setup for July, you would know that I actually did a very similar retro theme back in 2020, I believe, and I used much brighter colors, and so this was kind of a throwback to my past journal, just with muted colors, and honestly a palette that I love a lot more. This was just a spread that I made to kind of convince myself to get on with my summer reading book, but as you can see, I didn't really use it that much, and now I can tell you that I actually did not finish that book, so it wasn't very useful, but certainly cute. Moving on to the weekly spreads. These are really very basic and simple, but I love how you can just bring in slight nods to the color palette by outlining the boxes in them, and it really doesn't take much to create a functional spread because obviously it was a very busy week and I used every one of those boxes. Okay, moving on to August. So this was the month that I actually didn't make a bullet journal plan with me. I was switching up my content on my channel a little bit and straying away from bullet journaling a little more. I will say now currently I am definitely posting more bullet journaling content again, simply because I am more inspired to do so, and also because bullet journaling is a huge part of my productivity system. But this was the one month that I actually did not film my process for any of these spreads, except for I did make a reel for the cover page and the calendar that I posted on my bullet journaling Instagram. And by the way, both my Instagrams are always linked in the description box below if you want to go follow me. Overall, I do love how this theme turned out. I think the purple and the yellow are great colors for August. For some reason, purple just goes with August, especially this shade of like periwinkle, but also the motifs with like the sewing design and like the fashion throughout these spreads really just inspired me to work with like drawing people in my bullet journal, which I don't really do very often. I mostly just save that for my own sketchbook. This spread is super busy and I can't tell if I love or hate these dotted lines because it does seem very like chaotic and almost like eye blurring whenever you look at it, but also I love the effect because it looks like I'm like stitching the boxes. So I don't know, love and hate this spread. As you'll see as I go through, and it's during August and September that I really kind of burnt out myself with bullet journaling, and that's why later months you'll see that I did not bullet journal as much. But here we are in September. This was an interesting month for me because I used a lot of colored pencils to create this very detailed design. As I mentioned, I don't really draw people that much in my bullet journal, but drawing them in August inspired me to put this lovely girl here. This particular illustration was directly inspired by Sam Does Arts, and I didn't really have much creative juices flowing at this part of the year. For some reason, September and October, although they are in my favorite season of the year, which is autumn, I just never have good bullet journaling themes during this time. Maybe it's just that I always get burnt out during this part of the year, but I was just surprised that I could create a setup that actually inspired me and wanted me to keep bullet journaling every day because of the color palette. And I really did just like this illustration on the cover page here, even though it was a lot of work to do. It took me like 30 minutes just for that one drawing. But overall, I do think this was a pretty successful theme, and I love going back and looking at these pages because the color pencil makes these drawings really soft just to touch, and I just think it's really simple and soft and gentle way to kind of bring the autumn vibes into my bullet journal. Just a very simple spread, nothing much going on here. And another very simple spread. As you can see, like I mentioned, one bad thing about these detailed drawings was since they did take a lot of time, I didn't really do them very often, and most of my weeklies ended up turning out like this, just really simple with the motif of the dropping water, the raindrops. But I still do like this theme, even though I did get tired of the really detailed drawings. And that's what led me to officially creative block in October. I love how this spread turned out, and I love the way that I made a little scrapbook page over here. But if I'm scrapbooking in my journal, you can usually tell it means that I'm out of creative inspiration because I don't really want to draw anything. So it's kind of like an autumnal vintage Harry Met Sally theme, and I love the little aesthetic that it has. I love that I actually put real dried flowers in the spread right there. And this spread too, I really love how it turned out and all of the tabs, but overall I just had no inspiration to bullet journal. So once I made these spreads just all at once, I did not do any journaling for the rest of the month. And it was a system that worked for me for a while, so I'm glad I just committed to it. The weekly spreads were a little boring, which is why it wasn't my favorite way to do it, but honestly, October was so busy for me, and I'm just glad I had something in my bullet journal to be able to plan in. So if it's a lesson to anybody, it's that if you're going through a creative block, just do the bare minimum. Even this isn't the bare minimum. This is still like a lot, honestly, with all the washi tape and all the pictures. But if all you need is like 7 boxes just to make sure that you have something to plan out your day, do it, girl, because I did, and it helped me through at least a month of bullet journaling. This little sketch I did in English because apparently I was super bored and needed help. Okay, moving on to November. This was my most recent theme. I'm actually still in the middle of this theme because it's still November when I'm filming this video. I love how it turned out. It's very dark academia, and I love these roses that I put throughout the spread. I don't know, it just seems so delicate and pretty to me. But like I said, this is a sticker, and these are scrapbooking pictures that I just got from Pinterest, and so you can tell that I was still kind of in a creative block. I still did not really have the inspiration to create a full theme, and so I just carried my same technique from October over to November, crunched everything into one big spread with weekly Dutch doors, and called it a day. Thankfully though, as the month is coming to an end, I am really getting very inspired to get back into drawing and art, which is why, as you'll see, my December theme might be one of my favorites from this entire journal so far, because I really brought out my art skills, and overall I just love how it turned out. So, speaking of the devil, here is December, my reindeer and snow theme. I am obsessed with this cover page. Something about it looks so majestic and glittery, and also this just entire theme and the fact that I used much thinner pens than I usually do, also inspired by Lila journals, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, really spoke to me, if you want to put it that way, and I felt very creative making these spreads, and I'm just super excited to jump into December and start using them. So overall, I will say that I'm getting out of my creative block, and I couldn't be happier about it. Best time to do it at the very end of the year, so that I'm getting inspired for me to set up my new bullet journal, which, by the way, will be a video coming out in a couple weeks whenever I plan my bullet journal for 2023, and then another video where I set up my pages for January. So that is where we are with the end of this bullet journal. All of these pages right here are empty except for a couple in the back, but like I mentioned in most of these videos, I know that bullet journaling is not the most sustainable hobby because it literally is like a paper journal, but I do try to use the back pages for sketching, designing, videos, brain dumping, anything like that. So the back pages of my journal are used even if they aren't right now, but I do have the rest of December to finish out my bullet journal, so we'll see where we go from there. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this flip through and got a lot of good ideas from my journal. Make sure to subscribe down below if you have not already, so you can get all of the new videos coming out, because I post bujo and productivity videos every week. If you guys want to see a flip through of this journal, which is from the first half of 2022, and all of the spreads that I created for January through June, the video is right here on the screen, so go check it out, and I will see you over in that one. Toodles!